Are you overcomplicating food storage? Well, stop it now. Today we're going to talk about how easy it is to store sugar. Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene, and today we're going to have a really sweet show. It's all about sugar, and we actually don't eat a ton of sugar, but because recently I went downstairs to get some brown sugar to make cookies for my grandkids, I realized that I was running low on sugar. This is one of my favorite ways to store both powdered sugar and brown sugar just in the bucket because it protects them, and I have super easy access, and usually I keep better track than this.
And last week we needed to refill our sugar bucket, and so we got one of ours out of a Mylar bag, brought it up, put it in, but that means this bag needs to be filled again to keep our storage where it should be.
Okay, and we are really into reusing. So, I mean, how many people would just throw this Mylar away? But not us. What we need to do is you want to grab that bag of sugar. This is how easy it is to store this. When we store sugar, all we do, open up the Mylar bag, slide in the sugar. We're going to slide it all the way to the end and just kind of get rid of the air that's in there. And this one still has a bit of the zip. Every time you cut off the Mylar becomes just a little bit smaller and smaller and smaller, which is okay because we can still use it. But once we've closed that, John's going to cross out the 2022. This is just my hair straightener, right? This is the one I use to curl my hair. And all I'm gonna do is run it along here while he changes the date. And I don't really care that it's scribbled out because it's sugar.
Remember that with sugar, we're not gonna put an oxygen absorber in there.
No.
Because that's just gonna make it go hard. So it's just as simple as that. Just slide it in there, reseal it, redate it, boom, it's done.
Now, the reason why it's so important to put it in the Mylar is because it will protect it from environmental moisture. That's really important. Now, what we usually do with this now is we'll put it in a tote. But the thing about the totes is you've got to make sure that you've got the tote where you want it before you put all the sugar in it, because if you get 4 or 5 bags of this sugar in it,
it's pretty heavy.
You might not want to have it packaged in a 25-pound bag because, like, we have a lot of kids. So putting it in the sugar bucket, which is right here, this is actually how we keep it in the bottom of our pantry. It has a Gamma Seal lid on it so that we just spin it off and the sugar's in there. And whenever we need sugar, this is on the pantry floor. This is how we access it. But you might not have a crazy number of kids and might not need that much sugar.
But this does have warm memories for me. And I know you've heard the story before, but this is when the kids needed time out. The sugar bucket is where they went, hoping that the sugar would seep up through their little hind parts and sweeten their attitudes. So every time I see this, it just warms my heart.
So you could do a couple things. You could package one of these separately in Mylar, and that way, this is a 10-pound, and that even for some of us could be hard, and you can do it in smaller containers too. But another way is to put 2 of these in a 2-gallon container. Yeah. You want to do that?
And we just discovered this actually today, and it is pretty awesome.
And the reason why is I had intended just to buy the 25-pound bags, but because it's November and sugar is on sale because of all of the holiday baking, that means that this was cheaper to buy it this way than it is to buy it in the 25-pound bag. So this fits super
perfectly
snug, just right. So all I'm doing, I'm trying not to burn him because that's not nice.
So you can see this bag is just the right size. So when you go to replace the sugar that's in here, probably not going to be able to seal it.
Okay, so that's all sealed up, and he just needs to write on this. We always want to put what's in here, so white sugar or granulated sugar and the date. But you can use these bags over and over again. So you might not be able to fit both of the bags of sugar in it, but what else can you use it for next time? We do this with flour because that's the easiest way to make the flour, to store the flour. But we'll show you that in another video. Okay, we got to finish this up and we will be right back. Okay, when I went downstairs to evaluate our sugar stash, I noticed this bucket. This is a Gamasil lid that had been broken, and the little piece is in here. So it was probably used as a step stool, probably by me actually. But if you look at this bucket, it is all broken up. And the reason this bucket was gifted to us by somebody who didn't want it anymore, they were getting rid of a bunch of stuff, and this had been left outside, and the sun and light makes it really brittle. But if you look at the brown sugar that's in here, the best, if used by date, is actually 2018. And the brown sugar is still soft. So this is 7 years past its date, and it's just fine. So I will change it out of this bucket because this isn't an acceptable way to store it. But this is the next one that I would use. But when I went to Walmart to get the sugar, they had brown sugar and powdered sugar on sale. So we decided we needed to stock up on that. But I had this really cool idea because I think these will go in a 5-gallon Mylar bag perfectly. Now, same thing with the brown sugar as the granulated sugar. You don't ever use an oxygen absorber because it will turn it hard. You can vacuum seal granulated sugar, but you can't vacuum seal brown sugar because it will turn it hard. The only reason we put it in the Mylar is because the Mylar is protecting it, right? It just adds that protective layer. Do you have any idea how many cookies are in this case of brown sugar? I'm well known for my cowboy cookie recipe, which is an oatmeal chocolate chip recipe. My grandkids go crazy over it, but it takes both brown sugar and white sugar to make it.
Lots of happy grandkids, right?
Lots of happy grandkids. So it needs the date on it and what it is.
It's always better to be safe than sorry. So this can in fact go in a tote, and you could combine it with maybe brown sugar and a bag of white sugar, whatever you can fit in that tote, but that tote will just add a little bit more protection.
This will be really easy to stack on a shelf. Yes, you could put it in a tote. I'm not really worried about mice with this. It's totally possible. If you have an infestation problem or something, I would worry about it, but I'm okay with this. I'm okay just putting it in this because it's that added layer of protection. And now I've got brown sugar to last
Maybe a couple of years.
But the other thing is I will still have brown sugar in my bucket because this is easy access. And then what I'll probably do is open this, transfer it to one of my buckets, and use out of my bucket.
One of the amazing things that I love brown sugar on is my steel cut oats. I try and have steel cut oats a couple of times a week.
He's not kidding.
And
for breakfast, then beans for dinner.
Yeah, and I don't really care a lot for sugar, but brown sugar, and maybe this goes back to my childhood, brown sugar is just awesome. It just makes it have the flavor that I really love, that and some pecans. So, and then we just store it in this cute little container, easy to get to on the shelf, and then we just refill it when we need to.
And we don't usually have problems with it going hard when we do it like this. So even though this brown sugar could be, what did we decide, 7 years old or 8 years old? It's just fine.
Yeah.
Powdered sugar needs to be protected from moisture. You could just store them like this in this sweater tote, but look at this. It doesn't protect them very well, and these aren't really sturdy. So if you were just doing this for organization purposes in your pantry, this would be just fine. But if you are really looking at it to protect it, I wouldn't do that. I would go ahead and do something more significant. This box will not fit in a Mylar bag, so that's a little bit tragic. But what it will fit in is this bucket. And notice that we have a regular gasketed seal here. The gasketed seal is going to provide a true moisture and oxygen barrier, which will make this store for a really long time. So this is much better than the one that has the hole in it. But this is a great way to store your powdered sugar for, I don't know, like forever. Like it's not gonna go bad, like your great-grandchildren could eat it, right?
Cool.
So with this, what I like to do is I like to just squeeze them in there as much as I can. So I'll lay them all, I've got the bucket on its side and I'll squeeze them all in here. You know, it's so nice when you get stuff on sale. They're not having super great loss leaders like they used to. So now, even when I can save 20 cents, I'm so happy. You might be tempted to poke holes in these bags so that they'll fit better. Resist. Resist that temptation because there is protection from the bag and we don't want to ruin that protection. All right, let's see what you can do. All right, here we go. Now all he's got to do is label this, right? We want to make sure we know what's inside of it and the date. And then this seriously can be good forever. One other thing I wanted to mention. We talked about how you could vacuum seal granulated sugar just fine. Don't vacuum seal brown sugar because it will turn it hard. The other thing that you could do is you could just use repurposed jars. The repurposed glass jars will work fine for storing sugar. This is actually flour. I don't have any sugar that's stored this way, but I would not put granulated sugar in something like this because my experience has been that over time in this plastic, it will turn really hard because you get that slow transmission of oxygen and moisture through this over time. And we don't want it to turn hard, especially when you can't get out of here. Yeah. We have had Mylar bags of sugar, the small Mylar ones. I can't remember how old they were now. They had to be 20 years old or something. And the sugar had actually gotten a little bit chunky, right? You could tell that it had gotten a little bit of moisture in it, but it wasn't an issue. As you know, you could still break it up. We still used it in a lot of stuff and we used all that sugar. But the more that we can protect it from moisture, the better off we're gonna be. Don't use oxygen absorbers. We talked about that.
Right.
We highly recommend Pack Fresh USA. If you use the promo code Provident for your Mylar, you'll get 10% off. Having sugar on hand, while sugar is not good for you, none of us should be eating sugar, but it is
a little bit. We can have a little bit.
It's a huge comfort food. And like grandma making her cakes and her cookies and stuff for grandkids, that's really fun. And right now, because right now it's November, so all of the stores have their loss leaders and their sales on baking supplies. So now is a really good time to stock up and don't get caught with your last bag of powdered sugar like me because I didn't pay good enough attention.
Now for the question of the day. Why do you want to have sugar in your storage? What are your sweet sensations that you create? Share with us. And thanks for being part of the solution.